Good evening, managers. My name is Christian DeFazio, and we are here for the long, well overdue Shots Fired Fantasy Football League recap. Now, I know it's been a couple of years since we've done this, and I know usually it goes to the person who scored the lowest amount of points this week. Thank you, Tim, for volunteering to pay $10 anyways. Sorry we're short on time here. I accidentally deleted iMovie like 2 years ago. Didn't think I'd need it again. And then I did need it again. I need to download it, reinstall it, and everything like that. So without further ado, I would like to present to you the Week 1 2019 Shots Fired Fantasy Football League recap. So to start, we're going to jump into the defending champion, Christian DeFazio's Under the Influence, playing the league commissioner, Pete Dorchek's Kamara's a Bitch. Now, in the past, Dorchek has struggled mightily with DeFazio, whether it be in the championship or regular season. DeFazio is coming off of 3 straight regular season wins over Dorchek. But that was not the case this year, as Dorchek's team was flat out better, investing DeFazio's 146.1 to 106.7, a nearly 40-point victory. Dorchek got his top performance from running back Austin Eckler of the San Diego Chargers with a whopping 39.4 points. He also had outstanding performances from Alvin Kamara, which is usual, and Pat Mahomes, which is also typical. When asked how it felt to get off the schneid against Christian DeFazio's team, Commissioner Dorchek had to say, "We've had this game circled on our calendar for months now. Before the season, we've struggled with DeFazio to open. But to be a champion in this league, you have to beat the best teams." And going into this year, that's what DeFazio was. As for DeFazio, he got miserable performances, especially from his running back, Sony Michel, who had a whopping 14 yards on the day and no catches, making only 1.4 points. His leading scorer was Carson Wentz with 25 points, and that is his namesake, so I'm glad he at least performed well. When asked about his defeat, DeFazio simply put it, "Weren't the better team, like to move on to next week." The next game we have featured is Adrian Scher's Gettleman Sucks against Mitch Aliberti's Chillin' at the Goladay Inn. Really like that team name, Mitch. Appreciate that. The final score of this game, unfortunately for Mitchell, was 148.6 in favor of Adrian to just 98 points for Mitchell. Adrian had a very balanced performance led by running back Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans, including a 75-yard screen pass touchdown. That was his only catch of the day, but it was a big one, as well as Keenan Allen putting up 26.3 points. Really good day for anyone who had Chargers starters. As for Mitchell, like I said, he only scored 98 points, the most of which coming from Mike Thomas, who scored 22.3 points on Monday Night Football. When asked about his performance, Scher said, "It's always important to get off to a great start. Last year, after his embarrassing championship performance, is officially in the rearview mirror. We are looking to come out and win every week." And I have to say, I would consider Adrian a league rival at this point, and his team looked really good. He had 3 guys scoring over 22 points, which is very impressive. 2 of which were on the Tennessee Titans, so I don't think that'll maintain, but Adrian did play very well. As for Mitch is taking the Greg Popovich approach this year. He was only answering 2 questions. When asked what went wrong this week, he simply said, "Joe Mixon going down really hurt." And additionally, they will be having kicker tryouts as Matt Bryant put up a goose egg. And when I asked him for another question, he sent me a Greg Popovich gif saying only 2 questions, so I don't really have much for that. Our next game features Alec Guarino's Not For You and Dylan Clark's Out of Luck. A lot of people were wondering how Dylan Clark's team would be this year, considering he drafted in England. Cool place to draft. Fortunately for Dylan, his team came out firing, scoring 143.6 points, while Guarino's team scored a measly 107.3. Dylan got his top performance from Texans wide receiver and first overall pick in the draft this year, DeAndre Hopkins, with 31.1 points. And T.Y. Hilton, at least for the first week, has silenced the doubters after he scored 28.7 points. As for Guarino, who would appear spent more time roster baiting than actually keeping care of his actual team, his leading score was, Mark Andrews on the Baltimore Ravens with 24.8 points. A very impressive performance from a guy that a lot of people didn't really have on their radar this year. So good move on Alec's part. Dylan is known as one of the more inconsistent managers in this league. It seems like he's always competing for a championship or coming in last place, a classic rebuild, reload sort of thing. When asked about that, he had to say, I think you said it best. Inconsistency has plagued this team for years, but we are much less focused on the spectacular this year and much more focused on playing week in and week out. Dylan seems very confident in bouncing back from last year, saying, as tough as last year was, we try not to dwell on the past. We learned a lot from our mistakes and are looking forward to use those to better this year's team. As for Garino, not much to be said. Like myself, lost by 40. When asked what went wrong this week, he simply said, I didn't do a good enough job preparing my guys. I don't think it was one position, but you can look at multiple guys who didn't perform this week, and that's on me. I would expect nothing less from a great manager like Garino to take the blame for his team's miscomings. So I do understand where Alec is coming from on that. For our next game, well, Mark Andrews' profile is taking up the whole screen, and I can't minimize out of it for whatever reason. Hold on just a second. Because the X was halved. Sorry about that. For our next game, we have Tim Reynolds' Nut in Her Eye, worst team name so far, and league newcomer Danny Sullivan's Pepperoni. Nope, that was week 2. I apologize. Wow, I'm really struggling. I'm going to timestamp this. Fast forward from probably about like 6 minutes and 30 seconds to around 6:52. I'll put that in the edit. For our next game, we have Dave Katz's He Went to Bar A, cruising past butt of the league, Tim Reynolds' Nut in Her Eye. Dave Katz was led by extraordinary performances from Deshaun Watson and Marlon Mack, who combined for 56.1 points, while Tim's leading scorer was a kicker, which is not what you want. A lot of pressure going into the season for Tim. He already has to take the SATs this upcoming probably March, maybe May, depending on what the league depends on. And he definitely is not going to want to come in last place 2 years in a row. We don't really know what's going to happen if that does happen, but we'll see from there. When asked about his poor performance after a miserable season last year, Tim Reynolds went on to say, it's definitely not the way I envisioned the start, but of course I wouldn't let the negatives of last week get in the way of my handsome friend doing his job. That was Tim giving me a shout out, and I really appreciate that. As for his team's performance, he's going to take the blame, and there's also a couple factors. One, he took an outside opinion of someone else on who to start this week, which I wouldn't recommend considering, he's not in our league. I don't know why you'd ask him for opinions anyway. That's probably why Tim put up a league worst, 81.7 points. As for Dave has been a consistent manager in this league. He was another one who went through a lot of offseason turmoil, almost getting kicked out of this league. Stay handsome, Dave. Knew I never wanted you out. Just, it's always with you. Good alliance. Here we go. As for how his team performed, said it felt great to take a step in the right direction to start the year, but we all know it's a long season. Typical Dave fashion. Looking forward to next week, not trying to sit and rest on his laurels. Our next game we're about to cover is other new manager and previous manager Mike Daly and Minnie Garino's co-managed team, even though it seems more like Minnie's team to start the year than anyone else's, and Johnny Patty's Johnny Football. Johnny came up with a 166.4 to 120.3 victory. Johnny's first of all, favorite team, the Baltimore Ravens, got him somewhere above 50 points, led by Lamar Jackson's perfect passer rating and 33.6 points. While Minnie and Daly's team was actually led by two guys who a lot of people mocked, including myself, him taking Michael Gallup with 22.8 and Alshon Jeffrey with 22.1 points. When asked about his first ever game in the Shots Fired League, Minnie had this to say, being the youngest owner in this league is tough. I knew that my team was going to perform, though, and unfortunately we hit some bumps with players getting those tough yards but not scoring. But hey, that's football. Now, on the other side, John Patty is someone who's regarded as one of the best minds in this league. However, he has not yet transitioned to, I guess, success. He doesn't really have the hardware to show for it. For what he had to say about his performance this week, said, just told my guys to go out there and have fun. We were well prepared, and I think our performance showed that. When asked about how his lack of football intelligence, his football intelligence has translated into lack of hardware, he said, it's been frustrating that I have not been able to piece it all together, but we plan to take it week by week and see where that takes us. For our last game of the week, we have our other new manager, Danny Sullivan, against Christian Scher. This game is a special one, not just because Danny Sullivan is his first game in the league, but also because Christian Scher set a league record for most points scored in a game with 196.9. It is far and away the most impressive performance this league has ever seen. Scher, I think for the first time ever in this league, got 2 separate 40-point performances from guys on different teams. He was led by Sammy Watkins, who, at least so far this year, is looking to have a career resurgence, with a whopping 46.8 points, and then his keeper running back, Christian McCaffrey, went off for 42.9. As for Sullivan, his first-round pick, Dalvin Cook, was his leading scorer, 26 points. Christian Scher was easily the most sarcastic person that we interviewed, so I don't really have a lot of great quotes, but we do have this. When asked what he told his team to get out there, he said, it's fantasy football, so I didn't talk to them at any point. I asked Christian Scher a few more questions, and I got a lot of responses like that. He did give me this one. You want to win every game, so a good start wasn't something that I was specifically targeting. Yep, this is what we're going to have to deal with for the rest of the year. As for Danny Sullivan, it appeared that his team was honestly just happy to be out there. He scored 101 points, which was third worst in the league. Not a great start to his shots fired career. Danny doesn't have an iPhone, so I have to scroll on my phone to get the text. Sorry for the poor production. When asked about his first game, he pretty much all praise, something you expect a classy guy like Sullivan had to say. Hats off to Scher. Played good ball, put up record numbers, but as far as the Roney boys, we just couldn't play enough defense to stop him. When asked what it was like to manage his first game in the league, he said, first game you're always nervous, especially after moving into a prestigious league like the Shots Fired League. Good plug, Sullivan. That's the quote of the week. And he said, but at the same time, it's the same game. So you just got to go out there and do what you've been doing your whole life. Unfortunately, like I said, didn't have a lot of time. Didn't really put this together very well. I apologize for that. If I score the league low this week, hopefully you'll get something better. I encourage the person who scores the league low next week to maybe put some music in, do something that'll make the video better than this, perhaps make a script. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Gentlemen, I wish you all the best of luck in week 2. I know by the time I probably send this to you guys, it'll already be week 2, technically starting with Thursday Night Football. But yeah, other than that, enjoy your week. Hope to see you guys somewhat soon. And yeah, good luck in week 2.